Mom Training Podcast with Diana Ballard. Hey girl, Mom Training has launched. Yeah, you heard it right. Go over to dianaballard.com and check out Mom Training and how it can help you build a solid foundation for a successful home and family. And for a limited time, you can get 50% off the membership right now. Go to dianaballard.com and see how Mom Training could be a part of your life. Hey ladies, welcome to another episode of the Mom Training Podcast. Hope you had a great week. Today we're going to touch base on our kids and our husband are buddies or a burden. The reason this statement specifically is coming to me is this is what I am currently working on with my almost 3-year-old. He is super interested in learning right now. He wants to touch, taste, blow up. I mean, he wants to take everything and do whatever he can to learn how it works. Now that is taking a screwdriver to the side of my piano. That is pulling all the flowers off the irises that just barely started coming out of their little buds. There's lots of things that have been happening lately that I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've had to focus on, okay, how am I treating him, even though he is learning in ways that I would rather not have him learn? You know, fixing the side of the piano will be expensive. Now there's a whole section of my irises that don't have any flowers on them. Things like that. You know, messes all over the floor from him trying to get food himself, whatever. So something that I've been working on is treating him like my buddy, not a burden. Because I think sometimes our kids can act up, or if they get attention in certain ways from even negative experiences, then sometimes that starts to ingrain in them two things. One, I can get attention from being naughty. And two, I'm a burden. And so I'm just going to continue being naughty because I'm a burden. Now, obviously there's lots of other emotions and thoughts that can come with these things, but these are the two that I have found that have been pretty solid with my son right now. Am I giving him the attention that he needs? Now I'm playing with him. I'm giving him good food. We're doing fun things. But what does he need right now? And what he needs is more stimulating learning experiences, figuring out how the world works. You know, literally when I open a cupboard, I need to show him this is what a hinge looks like. It's screwed in on this side and it's screwed in on the other side and then it bends. You know, even just little simple things like that. Look, when I plug this in, it gives it electricity and makes it move. This shoe is made this way and it had to be glued. And so I've had to start adjusting some of the things that I'm normally doing into teaching and learning experiences for him to give him more of what he specifically is needing. But the statement that I've continued to practice over and over again is he's my buddy, not a burden. And I obviously want to treat him like my buddy. And since I've been practicing that, he's my buddy, not a burden. Because when kids do things that are like, I cannot believe you just thought that dumping the whole thing of protein powder on the floor would be helpful. I know it was an accident, but, why was that exciting for them to do that, right? So it's hard sometimes to not see them as a burden. Sometimes when they add on tons of extra work to clean up, protein powder all over the floor and counter and through some of the cupboards, right? But, in those moments, how can we switch those around to seeing, okay, this is an independent moment. He's trying to learn. I can teach him different types of snacks. I can, help him in different ways to be independent, give him options, while I'm cooking. Hey, do you want to make your own plate? Do you want to do these things? And I know that it's hard. I know that it's like when you come in, you see the mess on the floor, you see the mess all over the counter and all over the person and in the cupboards. It's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to choose to think logically in this moment that this is a learning experience. Now, we might not be able to think clearly in that moment. We might react a little more than we are responding. So maybe if you're not able to catch yourself, like in that very moment of being like, okay, this was what this was, and he needs learning stimulating experiences, or he needs some independence, right? And this can be for any age of kid. Like, they don't have to be doing toddler things. It could be an older kid that is having some behavioral issues, not listening, not cleaning up their room, they're having bad grades, whatever. It still is a time for us to be able to step back and see, okay, what, one, is this person needing? And two, how can I make them feel more like a buddy instead of a burden to me? And usually when people feel like they have an advocate and someone's on their side, a lot of those negative, emotions and a lot of those negative habits that they're doing or things to get attention can start to fade away. So it's the same thing with our husbands. How can we make our husband feel like he's our buddy and not a burden? And I know that buddy is not like usually something you would call your husband. You're my buddy, man. I mean, maybe, but still the same concept. How can we make our husband feel like he's our buddy, like he's our friend, like a teammate, like we're on the same side, more than a burden? Maybe blaming him for things, maybe calling out like, hey, you're never helping with this, and I can see that this could make our relationship better. Why aren't you doing this? You're neglecting this for me. But instead, how can we take maybe those same needs and concerns and be able to present them differently in a way that makes them feel like we're on the same team? You're my buddy, we're working together, and we've got this together. So that's kind of what I want you to focus on this week, is thinking to yourself with each person in your family, are they my buddy, or am I treating them like a burden? Am I treating them like my buddy, or am I treating them like a burden? Buddy or burden, buddy or burden? And it might open your eyes to be able to see, wow, I need to work on this. Or, wow, I completely see that I am favoring one child, treating them like my buddy, but then I'm treating the other one like a burden. Now, there's lots of reasons why someone could be on your bad side that you're treating like a burden. Could be just a different personality. Could be that they remind you of someone from the past that hurt you. Or maybe you just have a damaged relationship from yelling, not spending time with each other, whatever. But I challenge you this week to look and think about, am I treating each person in my family like a buddy or a burden? And then evaluate what you need to do to change that. Thinking, using your intuition, what can I do to create a better relationship with this person and become buddies with this person? Now, that doesn't mean we give in to things. That doesn't mean that you're like, what, I'm just going to stop disciplining this week because I want to be this guy's buddy, right? We're still mom, and you need to hold boundaries. You have to hold boundaries, because if you don't hold boundaries, they're going to push and push and push. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a mess, which is how maybe the relationship got that way, because you have resentment now, you have guilt that you didn't hold boundaries. So you have to hold boundaries as a mom. You have to continue to discipline as a mom. But there are things that we can do for each person. Like maybe one needs more physical attention. Maybe one needs you to listen to them. One needs more learning, stimulating experiences. But being able to figure out how to make each person a buddy and not a burden is going to change your life and change your household immensely and change you, which is the main thing we focus on. And we're changing ourselves, which then changes the environment around us. And now let's touch base for a minute about how we can make our husbands be more of a buddy and not a burden. So being a buddy, a teammate, a supporter, working together, building up a household together comes with knowing how to communicate with each other to be each other's buddy. So the main thing I want you to check yourself on this week is, how is my communication with my husband? And is what I'm saying to him, my body language, my actual language, how much I'm spending quality time with him, like what am I communicating with him that would make him want to be my buddy, want to be a better teammate with me, and to, that we can stand up for things together and create a household together. What is my communication doing? Am I complaining a lot? Am I encouraging him? Am I speaking life over him? Being like, you are an awesome husband. I just love what you're doing. I want to thank you so much for that. Are we showing the gratitude? Like, what is our communication like in our marriage? And that'll tell you right there, like, how well your buddy relationship is going. And instead of conversation maybe being a burden on each side, how can we take and make our conversations, the body language, the time spent together, what we're communicating, more effective and potent? I mean, using the time that you have together to make your relationship grow instead of be stagnant or moving backwards, because we don't want that. We want our relationship to grow and become stronger, more loving, more harmonious. That's why we're in a marriage. We want that teammate. We want a buddy. So with your family, step back and look at yourself and look at the relationships you have. Am I seeing this person as a buddy or a burden? And how can I change that? And then with our husbands specifically, the tip is looking at how you're communicating. Is your communicating being a burden? Or is it building relationship and connection or making a better buddy in your marriage too? So hopefully that was helpful and maybe thought-provoking for you to be able to think about, am I treating someone as a buddy or a burden? Because we definitely don't want to purposely treat someone like a burden. But if we're not aware of it, the chance of it happening is a lot higher than if we step back and look at it and kind of dissect how our relationships are, how we're doing it, and what we're doing. So I hope this can help increase your relationship with your kids and your husband and happiness in your own self. Hope you have a great day. Make sure that you're sharing this with other mamas so we can share these messages with other families and help them as well. So we'll see you next Tuesday and have a great week. Bye. Hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can hit me up on social media at Diana Ballard Live or on my website at dianaballard.com. See you next week.